guys, welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another video. This is Premier League predictions at Game Week 5. In this video, I'm going to look at the upcoming Premier League fixtures and analyze what I think is going to happen. Before I get into any of that, let's take a look at what happened last week. I got 2 scores correct, so I was quite proud of myself for getting 2. And then I also got a handful of the outcomes correct, and I had the right goal difference for a couple of games as well. So taking into account all of our scoring, I got 13 points for this week. And you guys in the chat absolutely killed it. You got 5 scores correct amongst you guys, which is insane. And then what I've done is for the scores that somebody didn't get correct, I've just put the score that was the most prevalent among the comments as the score that appears there to make it as fair as possible. Massive shout out to Diamond, Siobhan, Doctors, and David, who all got predictions correct to help your guys' score. You guys have 18 points after this week. So if you guys want to get involved in this game, in the scoring, if you want to get points for your team, the chat, make sure to comment your score predictions down below. I'm thinking, like, do you think it makes sense if I get more points if I get something right to keep it fair, even-ish? Because I feel like there's no way that I can compete. So I was thinking maybe if you guys get a score right, it's like 3 points, and then if I get it right, it's like 5 points or something like that, just to give me like some semblance of a chance of catching up. But let me know if you think that's fair or if I'm just cheating. Now let's get into the predictions. First up, we have West Ham versus Chelsea. So West Ham head into this game after a 1-1 draw versus Fulham at Craven Cottage, where they were able to salvage a point thanks to Danny Ings' late equalizer. Lopetegui said that the team ran a lot, but he has a feeling that they can do better. Overall, he's happy with the reaction and the feeling of the team, but he feels that they have to do better with the ball. And then looking at Chelsea, never a dull day for Chelsea fans, as there's a lot of media attention on a supposed rift between the Chelsea owners, and Enzo Maresca came out and said that the players shouldn't pay attention to this. They shouldn't really check what's going on in social media. They should only take into account what's in their hands and basically put everything out on the pitch, because they're there to win games and just tune out all the rest of the noise. After a fairly poor showing versus Bournemouth, Chelsea were able to snag all 3 points thanks to a late Nkunku goal. The substitutes had a really big impact in this match, so one of the things that I'm going to be looking out in this Chelsea team is if the substitutes that had that impact are going to be starting in this game, or if we're going to see the same starting front 4 that we've been seeing with like a Pedro Neto, Jackson, Madueke, and Cole Palmer. Players to look out for West Ham, Mikel Antonio isn't a guaranteed starter at this point, but he has a really crazy record against Chelsea. He's been involved in 5 goals in his last 6 Premier League appearances against Chelsea. And then for Chelsea, I couldn't pick just one. I've gone for Jadon Sancho and Christopher Nkunku. Both of these players combined for Chelsea's late goal against Bournemouth, and I felt that they had really good showings as well. Jadon Sancho was awarded man of the match, so I'm interested to see if they're going to be starting this game and what kind of impact that they can have after they had a good performance versus Bournemouth. I never know what to predict for a Chelsea game. Like, I honestly feel that it can go any which way, but I do feel that they have enough firepower to get the win, especially after West Ham's shaky start to the season. So I'm going to go for West Ham 1, Chelsea 2. Aston Villa versus Wolves. Aston Villa opened up their Champions League campaign with a 3-0 win against Young Boys midweek. And whenever a team or a new team gets Champions League football, I'm always interested to see how that affects the Premier League, which games they prioritize, because there are a lot of games, there are a lot of minutes. So I'll be interested to see how Aston Villa approach this game and if we're going to see any legginess from the players. Wolves are yet to get a win so far this season. Gary O'Neill admitted that they may be the underdog, but they're still hoping to get a result against this Villa side. They're currently sitting in 18th place in the Premier League, and to make matters worse, they got knocked out of the EFL Cup midweek after losing 3-2 to Brighton. For players to look out for from Aston Villa, I think I said this last week, but again, John Duran, he scored 3 game-winning goals off of the bench, which is just absolutely insane, and no player in Premier League history has scored 4 game-winning goals off of the bench in a single campaign. So keep your eye out for that. He could potentially be making history this weekend if he doesn't start. And then for Wolves, I went for Matt Doherty. He made 7 passes into the final third as a defender, and he also won all of his aerial duels versus Brighton. I do think that we might see some tiredness from Aston Villa, but overall, I do think that they have the quality to win this game. They've won 3 out of their 4 Premier League games this season, losing only to Arsenal, whereas Wolves have won just 1 of their last 14 Premier League games, which is insane. So with that being said, I'm going for a 2-1 Aston Villa win. Fulham versus Newcastle. Fulham suffered a shocking midweek exit in the Carabao Cup after losing to Preston North and at 16-15 on penalties, which is insane. I don't think I've ever seen penalties go that high, but let me know, that's just absolutely crazy. They did have 3 big chances missed in that game, so they're going to be looking to continue to create chances versus Newcastle, but be able to capitalize on those opportunities. Meanwhile, Newcastle enjoying their best start to a Premier League campaign in nearly 30 years, and they're currently sitting in 3rd place. I don't know about you guys, but I feel like they've like sneakily gone under the radar for me, and then now they're just sitting in top 4, so I'm excited to see how they play this season. Eddie Howe could be facing a benching headache, as he does have Harvey Barnes, who came off the bench versus Wolves to score the winner, so we'll see what happens with that. For players to keep an eye out on from Fulham, check out Emile Smith-Rowe. He has 2 goal involvements in 4 Premier League appearances so far. And then for Newcastle, keep an eye out on Harvey Barnes. Obviously, as I just mentioned, he came off of the bench last week to score the winner. It'll be interesting to see how Eddie Howe approaches this game, if he starts Harvey Barnes on the left and Gordon on the right, or if he opts to start Harvey Barnes ahead of Gordon. We'll have to wait and see. Newcastle have won each of their last 4 away league games against Fulham, and Fulham are winless in 8 games against Newcastle, so I am going to go for a Newcastle win, and I'm going for 1-2 to Newcastle. Leicester City versus Everton. Leicester are still searching for their first win of the season, having drawn 2 and lost 2 so far. Steve Cooper said that he was pleased with his side's performance versus Crystal Palace, but they're going to have to continue to build on that in order to get their first win of the season. Everton have had a crazy journey in the Premier League so far. In the last 2 game weeks, they've gone up 2-0, only to then lose the game 3-2. And then just to add on top of that, they got dumped out of the Carabao Cup midweek after losing to Southampton on penalties. Everton had an expected goals of 1.54 compared to Southampton's 0.53, but despite that, both teams had the same amount of shots on target at 4. For players to look out for from Leicester City, watch out for Ndidi. He's assisted 3 goals in his last 2 Premier League appearances, which is as many as he had in his previous 62 Premier League games for the club. And from Everton, look out for Dominic Calvert-Lewin. He scored in the last 2 games versus Aston Villa and Bournemouth. Both sides will be looking to get their first wins of the season, and I really don't know which way it's going to go. I feel like I slightly favor Everton just because of the amount of goals that they've scored so far. Like, they have been scoring goals, they've just had a massive defensive problem, but that kind of cancels each other out. So I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw. Liverpool versus Bournemouth. Liverpool beat AC Milan 1-3 in the Champions League midweek after conceding after just 3 minutes to a Christian Pulisic goal. They were particularly impressive in set pieces, having netted 2 goals from headers midweek. However, in the Premier League, they're going to be looking to come back from their shocking loss to Nottingham Forest last weekend and have that Champions League game form going forward in this match. Bournemouth put in a solid performance versus Chelsea and looked like the better side for much of the game. They did get a bit unlucky not to score, having had a couple of shots hit the post and a penalty saved by Robert Sanchez as well. Their club record signing, Ivan Nilsson, is yet to score with 7 shots on goal in his first 3 games for the club. Bahekot Irola is confident that he'll find the back of the net soon. For players to watch out for, Mohamed Salah could make history in this game. He has 9 goals in 9 Premier League appearances versus them, and Bournemouth could become the 4th team where he has double-digit Premier League goals against that club. And for Bournemouth, keep an eye on Semeno, who has 3 goal involvements in 4 Premier League games for the club. Liverpool look the favourites to win this game, having won 9 out of their last 10 Premier League games with Bournemouth. But as we saw next weekend, anything can happen. I think I'm going for the same scoreline that I predicted last weekend, so let's see if it works out for me this week. And I'm going for a 3-1 Liverpool win. Southampton versus Ipswich Town. Both of these teams are still looking for their first Premier League win of the season. Russell Martin was extremely pleased with how Southampton bounced back in the EFL Cup midweek after having conceded first, and he's hoping that his team can show that same fight and determination going into this Premier League game week. Meanwhile, Ipswich Town have been picking up some points in the Premier League, drawing to both Brighton and Fulham. Kieran McKenna has had the challenge of integrating his 11 new signings into the club, but he believes that they're finally starting to get chemistry and awareness with one another, and that their business in the transfer market over the summer is starting to come to fruition. For players to look out for from Southampton, take a look at Sigaraway. I can't speak, it's way too early. He's in the 88th and 90th percentile for chances created and shot attempts among fullbacks. And from Ipswich Town, Semi Sumadex is a threat in front of goal. I think it's going to be a tight game in terms of both teams know how much is on the line. A win could be massive in terms of the relegation battle. But I'm going to slightly edge it towards Southampton. I'm going for 1-0 Southampton win. Next up, Tottenham versus Brentford. Spurs will be looking to return to winning ways after their defeat versus Arsenal last weekend. And surprisingly, Spurs have only picked up 4 points in their opening 4 Premier League games. So if you're a Spurs fan, I'd love to hear how you feel about this, because from the outside, it feels like there's a lot of negativity towards Postecoglou and the team due to the results that they've gotten. But what do you think about this? What do you think about the results? Are you giving him time? Let me know down in the comments. Brentford were involved in midweek action in the Carabao Cup and booked their place to the next round. Thomas Frank talked about how important it is to find a balance between putting out a strong team in the Cups and making sure that you still have a strong but rested team to play in the Premier League as well. So he's trying to find that balance with the squad. So watch out for a bit of legginess perhaps from Brentford that could take advantage of set pieces, because Spurs have been quite poor at defending set pieces recently. For players to look out for from Spurs, I'm going for Pedro Porro. Only Morgan Gibbs-White has created more open play chances at 11 than Pedro Porro has at 10. And he's also the only player to have created 4 or more open play chances in 2 Premier League games this season. From Brentford, Wissa has 3 goals and 1 assist in 4 Premier League appearances, and he's also been in really good form so far. Brentford have won just 1 out of their last 6 Premier League games against Spurs. They've struggled away from home, losing 12 out of 16. I feel like it's going to be tight. I was going back and forth, the draw or Spurs win, but I'm gonna just I like going for one team winning. I don't love predicting a draw, so I'm gonna go for a Spurs win. I'm going for 2-1 to Spurs. Crystal Palace versus Man United. Crystal Palace were yet another one of the teams to book their next place in their Carabao Cup midweek, but in the Premier League, they're currently sitting in 16th, having 2 points from 4 games. Man United had a big win midweek, winning 7-0, piggybacking off of their 3-0 win versus Southampton last weekend. Marcus Rashford was on the score sheet for both of these games, and he said that he felt that the front line was finally clicking and linking well with the midfield. So one thing that I'm keeping an eye out on is if he's finally getting off the mark and getting some consistency scoring goals this season. Players to keep an eye out on for Crystal Palace, Jean-Philippe Mateta has an insane goal scoring record recently. He has 15 goals in 17 games, including one in Palace's 4-0 win versus United last May. And for Manchester United, Bruno Fernandes has had more shots, 13 without scoring, than any other player in the Premier League so far. So could we finally see him get his goal this weekend? United have now lost 2 of their last 3 away league games against Crystal Palace, but they are coming off of the back of 2 big wins. I'm not really sure how they're going to fare this season. I always felt them kind of up and down as well, but I am going to go for a Man United win. I'm going to go 1-2. I feel like I'm predicting so many 1-2 wins this week. I don't know, but I feel like it's going to be very close this weekend. I don't know. Brighton versus Nottingham Forest. Brighton were yet another team to book their place into the next round of the Carabao Cup after beating Wolves midweek, coming off of the back of a surprising draw versus Ipswich Town last weekend in the Premier League. Joao Pedro, who had been on fine form for them, is going to be assessed ahead of this week to see if he is fit to play after suffering a minor injury knock. Meanwhile, Nottingham Forest had a crazy win versus Liverpool last weekend. I was going through the comments and nobody predicted a Forest win. Love to see an underdog winning, and we could see Callum Hudson-Odoi and Anthony Alenga both return to the starting 11. Forest have also had a really good start to the Premier League, and they're undefeated in their last 5 Premier League matches. For players to keep an eye out on from Brighton, Minte is in a high percentile versus players in similar position for chances created and successful crosses. And from Forest, I had to go with Callum Hudson-Odoi. He had a brilliant goal versus Liverpool, and he's looking like his best back in front of goal. After successive wins in the Premier League, Brighton have now had 2 back-to-back draws, so I'm really not sure which way this is going to go. I feel like these 2 teams are very tight, so I'm going to go with a 1-1 draw. And next up, the game of the weekend, potentially the game of the season, or one of the games of this season, Man City versus Arsenal. I'm so excited for this match. Okay, so Man City surprisingly drew midweek versus Inter Milan. Could we be seeing some tiredness from the sheer amount of games that these players are having to play? And they had injury blow as Kevin De Bruyne came off at halftime. It seemed that he had a bit of discomfort in his groin, so we're going to have to see if he's going to be ready to face Arsenal. But on the plus side, Man City could be handed a boost in midfield as Rodri could be set to make his first start of the season for them. Arsenal have also been dealt a massive injury blow as captain Martin Odegaard has had ankle ligament damage that he sustained on international duty, and he's going to be out for the foreseeable future. But like Manchester City, they are having a boost in midfield as Declan Rice is set to make his return after serving a one-match suspension for Spurs. So for players to look out for Man City, I'm trying not to talk about Erling Haaland every week because that's just easy, but it's also just this player is insane. But I'm going to talk about Rico Lewis for a bit because I've been really I've really enjoyed what I've seen from him. He has 1 assist so far. He's just 19 years old, but he really looks like he's slotted into this City side. And side note, I currently contradictingly have him benched in FPL, so let me know what do you think I should do. I just don't like playing for a defender, so I had to pick one to bench. And then from Arsenal, I went for Gabriel. He made some key blocks for Spurs last weekend, and then he did score the winner as well. Overall, he's just looked really sturdy in that Arsenal defense, and he looks so good defending set pieces as well as attacking them. And it'll be a key battle to watch Haaland versus Gabriel and Saliba, because last season in both of the fixtures, Gabriel and Saliba, the center-back pairing, didn't allow Haaland to take a single shot. So let's see if Haaland is going to be able to get revenge in this game. He's been in crazy form, so I'm almost expecting him to score, but Arsenal have had an incredibly sturdy defense, so it'll be interesting to see which way this goes, like a crazy attack versus a really crazy defense. I have no idea which way this is going to go. Like, this game is the hardest to predict. I could see Man City winning by a lot, I could see Arsenal winning by a lot, I could see it being like a 0-0, I could see it being a high scoring game. Like, I could see everything, and either way, this is a massive opportunity for both of these sides to make a big statement about the Premier League season, about what their plans and intentions are. Obviously, Arsenal are trying to win the league after coming close the last 2 seasons. And Man City have the opportunity to put an early 5-point gap between themselves and Arsenal if they win. So it's a massive game. I've kind of chickened out from picking a winner. I'm going for a 2-2 draw. I feel like it could be more. I don't know. My gut is telling me that there's goals in this game, but yeah, let me know your score prediction for this one because I'm really interested in it. So guys, those are my score predictions for this game week. Let me know down in the comments what you think about them, and of course your score predictions as well. If you like this video, if you like my content, make sure to drop it a like, sub to the channel, turn on notifications so you don't miss any of my videos. And I know I've said it before, but comment your score predictions so that you can get points for the team, and I just love seeing them and seeing if you guys align with what I'm thinking as well. Thank you so much for watching this video. I really appreciate it. Have a great rest of your day, evening, whatever time you're watching this, and until next time, I'm out. Bye!